Go inside the Crimson Tide with your hosts Rodney Orr and Gary Harris, keeping you informed on everything Alabama. Tider Insider TV, brought to you by Visit Tuscaloosa.
And good evening, everybody. Welcome to the latest edition of Tider Insider TV alongside Rodney Orr from TiderInsider.com. I'm WVUA 23 Sports Director Gary Harris, and I say this every year, Rodney, on the eve of fall camp. I always got a little extra pep in my step. As long as we've been doing this.
I could tell when I walked in. You were excited.
You still get excited. Alabama football is back, and we will go full tilt as far as previewing the upcoming fall camp for you here on TITV. The practice begins tomorrow morning with practice number 1 over at the Alabama football facility, the Thomas Drew Fields. We're going to be on hand all week and this weekend as well for practice coverage for WVUA 23. The media day is coming up on Monday, so a lot to get into. First of all, Alabama's looking to rebound, and I'll say that without apology. 9-4 is not what they were looking to do last year. In fact, it was the first season since Nick Saban's first year in 2007 that Alabama did not win 10 games in a season. But Ryan Grubb is back. I say back. Remember, he was the offensive coordinator for a few weeks last year before he left to join the Seattle Seahawks. He's the new OC. Nick Sheridan switches over to coach the quarterbacks. The roster retention is unbelievable. Alabama lost fewer players to the portal than any team in the country. Got some freshmen coming in, some transfers, Rodney. So it's a real positive vibe. Plus, they've won the offseason with recruiting. Everything seems to be in a really good place right now heading into fall camp.
No, I'm really excited, Gary. I am, because I do think, you look at that 9-4 last year, kind of left a bad taste in everyone's mouth. And I think from the moment that Michigan game ended, they started this process to where they are right now. I think they had a great, you mentioned the fourth quarter program that they had. Spring practice went really, really well. And I think now the summer has gone extremely well. And leading into camp tomorrow, the start of camp, I think the mindset is right. I think they're on the same page. Look, that first year, it's really difficult in the transition. Now, I think the familiarity is there.
Let's start with the offense. Let's start with the receivers, because I said this on my radio show this morning. The first three, you've got Bernard, who's just a consistent pass catcher, a glue guy. You've got Ron Williams take the top off for you, dynamic, explosive. And now you have Isaiah Horton come into the mix from Miami, the 50-50 catch guy. 6'4", can just throw it up and get it. And then behind them, you've got some exciting players. So this wide receiving core for the new quarterback is going to be electric.
No, look, I thought at the end of last year, watching Rico Scott, I thought this is a guy that has an opportunity to really make a strong impact for this season. And I think spring, he kind of, had some inconsistencies at times catching the ball, but I think he's had a great summer from everything I've heard. He's a guy that's got physical size, he's got great speed, and when I say he's got the physical size, Gary, but he's also a very physical player. So I like him. Lotzeir Brooks, you talked about the true freshman out of New Jersey. He's a game breaker. Of course, Cole Adams is back as well. You've got Derek Meadows, a 6'6" receiver out of Las Vegas that I think is going to be a future star here as a true freshman. Jalen Mbakwe switches over. Don't forget, you've got Jalen Hell and some other players that have been around a while. But I'm really excited about this wide receiver core. I think they're going to take a huge jump in terms of what they accomplished this year.
So whoever the quarterback is, he's going to have some good guys to throw to. Again, nobody has been announced as the starter. The feeling is that Ty Simpson's the leader in the clubhouse.
Yeah, and I think that's fair. I mean, Ty's been around a while. I mean, I think he obviously had a really steady spring. You've got a couple of young players, Austin Mack, of course, the transfer from Washington, who this is his second year here. He's really familiar with this coaching staff, of course. And then the highly touted Keelan Russell. I mean, I know a lot of people want to talk about him, but, Ty's waited his chance. He's got a lot of tools, Gary. There's no doubt about the physical tools that he has, so I hope he takes advantage of that opportunity.
And O-line-wise, they got a lot of guys back.
They do. They do. And, we had a report on Tider Insider last week. We said one of the guys to watch, and we mentioned it last week on this show, Cam Dewberry, the transfer from Texas A&M. I think he can be a real key at that left guard spot, kind of filling a void.
Yeah, and he's lost a lot of weight since he got here in a lot better condition. Good competition there on the offensive line. And now it's time for Coach Talk. Alabama, we haven't mentioned the running back position, but they got talent there. Jam Miller, the returning starter, third-team All-SEC a year ago. But who's going to emerge behind him? Remember, Justice Haynes transferred to Michigan. Earlier this month at SEC Media Days, Crimson Tide head coach Kalen DeBoer said he wants to be able to count on multiple running backs to be able to produce game in and game out.
I think we're physical at times. It's now more about executing and just being able to count on a run game that can be consistent week in and week out. Because for us, whether you say the run game opens up the play action and the shots down the field or vice versa, I don't care. I just want us to be able to have the ability to do both.
All right, Rodney, it starts with Jam Miller, and he was solid last year, but I think he can, and I think the coaches feel like that he can play better.
Look, I think Jam Miller, yeah, you're right. But I do think, too, Gary, this will be more of a running game that will focus on the running backs, not so much the quarterback as what we saw last year. And I do think Jam's a really good back. Again, I think one of the keys here, they've got to find somebody that can make some plays on their own. What I mean by that is you got to be able to break tackles. Alabama wasn't very good at that last year. They've got to be able to make some guys miss, create their opportunities. The more they touch the ball, maybe certainly that would be beneficial. But you talked about Jam Miller, Richard Young, number 9 there. He's a guy that came in highly touted. He was a 5-star rated player. A guy maybe to keep an eye on, though, is Daniel Hill from Meridian, and number 4 this year. He switched his number, but he's a 240-pound sledgehammer type guy. Now he's a guy, he can run over you. He can make a guy's miss just by running over them. But and again, he's got some ability to bounce it outside. He's got surprisingly really good hands. You watch his high school tape, I mean, that was one of the things that jumped out at you. So this is a room, we know Kevin Riley here, the local kid from Tuscaloosa County, got a lot of speed. A.K. Deere's a true freshman. Now, one other guy, Dre Washington, the transfer from Louisiana, I thought we might hear more noise from him in the spring. Maybe he takes a big jump this fall.
You already mentioned last year a big part of the running game was Jalen Milroe. These quarterbacks they have now are athletic, but they're not going to count on them to run the football. You're right. The running game needs to be better from the running backs this year.
Yeah, and I think we're going to see that. Now, with that said, too, let's say this. Ty is surprisingly I say surprisingly, a lot of people don't understand how good of an athlete he really is. I mean, don't forget a couple of years ago he had that 79-yard touchdown run that, when he dropped the ball early. But he's a really good athlete. He's elusive. He's very creative in terms of his skills, improvisational skills. So I think Ty's a better athlete than some people think.
And just real quickly on the tight ends, Josh Cuevas is the returner there, but they brought a lot of different guys in, both freshmen and through the portal.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. Like you said, they brought in 2 from the portal, Brody Dalton and Jack Samarco from West Virginia, but they've got Danny Lewis coming back. We'll see if he's healthy. We don't know yet. We'll find out tomorrow at practice. I know he missed the spring. And they've got some freshmen. Caleb Edwards, outstanding-looking freshman from California that got here this summer. But in the spring, we had an early enrollee, Marshall Pritchett, who I think is going to be a really good player. So I'm excited about the potential of the tight ends.
All right, let's get to the defense. And we're going to start in the secondary because I'm being told by some people that I respect that this secondary, and Nick Saban had some great ones, might be as deep, might be as talented, might be as long, might be as athletic as any secondary that's ever been at Alabama. We're looking at some of the defensive linemen right now as well. But, you got to have all 3 units working together up front, linebacking core, and the secondary. But this Alabama defense, Rodney, we know this. They're talented. They had a lot of people come back, some of them that could have left. I'm being told this could be a top 5 defense in the country. Gary,
look, you mentioned the secondary. We've mentioned it here for weeks and weeks and weeks about the talent that this secondary, what a great job they've done recruiting secondary players. Got some transfers, obviously, Damani Jackson, Zabian Brown, fantastic as a freshman last year. You've got Dejon Lee, who is a true freshman from California that's 6'4", that everybody raves about. And Cam Calhoun's a guy. Keep that name in mind. He could play corner. He could play multiple positions in the secondary. But the transfer from Utah is really good. Hey, we can't go through them all, but you've got Bray Hubbard back. You've got Keon Sabb. You've got Zay Mincy at safety. You've got all of these guys. And look, there's still several others that we could mention. That's how talented and deep they are.
And you've got some transfers coming in on the defensive side of the ball, really at linebacker and up front as well.
Yeah, Nakai Hill-Green, I think, coming from Colorado. This guy that led Colorado in tackles. He had 82 tackles last year. Gary, look, he's got over 200 tackles in his college career. He's been to some schools now, Michigan, Charlotte, and then, as you mentioned, Colorado, now Alabama. But so he's been around, and I think on the defensive line, it's going to be really interesting. This is a guy I'm going to be interested in. Is Kelby Collins.
Yeah.
He's a guy from Gardendale. How much will he contribute? Because, look, I think the defensive line has a chance to be much improved. We've talked about Tim Keenan, LT Overton. Watch out for James Smith. We've been talking about him on TighterInsider.com. You've got some other young players, Jeremiah Beeman, Edric Hill, Jordan Renaud should be ready to bust out. And how about Keon Keeley? Maybe this is the opportunity he's been waiting for. So you kind of get the drift. Look, we're not trying to blow smoke. This is a team that has a lot of potential.
And specialist-wise, it's a trifecta. You're replacing the kicker, the punter, and the long snapper.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. We've talked about Connor Talty here a lot on this show. He was a highly recruited place kicker a few years ago out of Chicago. Now's his opportunity. You know, Nicholson came in last year and kind of, you know, Connor had to wait his opportunity. Now, here's the thing. Blake Dowd, the transfer punter from Colorado School of Mines, he's a guy that had a good spring. And we're going to see about Alex Esperoff. He was a highly touted kicker, punter out of Fresno. He's a true freshman, got a lot of potential now. He came in, he had that knee injury, but we think he's close to being 100%, so we'll see. All
right, we're just getting cranked up here on Tighter Insider Television, the pre-fall camp edition. Alabama football gets another Bear. It's a famous name around here, obviously, but another Bear is coming into the program. We'll have the details on that. And more to talk about with this Alabama football team, including recruiting that is still to come. Anthony Tank Jones, he's still uncommitted out of Mobile St. Paul's, but he's close to pulling the trigger. Where does Alabama stand? We'll have it for you next. And we'll be getting your phone calls, emails, and tweets just a little bit later on. The phone number, as always, 205-348-WVUA. That's 348-9882, or you can email us at the address on your screen. And also, you can tweet at us. Use the hashtag TITV. We'll be right back with the only show that takes you inside the Crimson Tide. Tighter Insider TV returns right after this. And welcome back to TITV, presented by Visit Tuscaloosa. Go to visittuscaloosa.com. Alongside Rodney Orr, I'm Gary Harris. We broke down fall camp preview in the last segment. Now we're going to get to recruiting. And Alabama picked up a Bear this past week. And, boy, that's a good name if you're an Alabama football player. Last Friday, Alabama flipped a commitment from Georgia Tech, and Bear Fretwell, 6'7", 290, offensive tackle out of Bullock, Georgia, or southeast of Bullock in Brooklet, Georgia, actually flipped his commitment. And, Rodney, this is a guy that you've liked for a while. Very good athlete. He's going to play well over 300 pounds, but extremely athletic and long-armed.
You know what? We talked about him, a month ago maybe? And his performance at a camp was pretty amazing, Gary. When you talk about his size, 6'7", right now 290, there you see him just burying that guy. But he ran a 4.77 laser time. And look, one of the keys to this offense is they want offensive linemen that can move. Now, look, he's going to have to develop a little bit, but that's part of it. But he has all the tools.
Yeah, and, you know, as you look at this class now, what is this, 21 commitments?
Yeah.
Alabama's winding it down, right?
Yeah, they are.
I don't think they have any slots left. And this is a nice pickup on the offensive line, probably done with offensive line recruiting. But there's an in-state guy that Alabama really would like to sign, and that is the edge defensive lineman out of St. Paul's in Mobile, Tank Jones. And let's talk about Tank for a minute. He's narrowed it down to 3 schools, and we expect an announcement to be made very soon. You know,
the thing is, Gary, you talk to some really strong sources down in Mobile. They're saying the last couple of weeks, they're saying, watch out for Oregon. It's going to be Oregon. But look, I think Alabama's really confident. So, and Texas A&M's, they seem to be confident. So really no one knows exactly what's going to happen. But I'm going to tell you, I got a sneaky suspicion that Alabama seems to be confident here. So with that said, you know, he's an in-state player. Alabama's doing extremely well in-state. They've made a concerted effort to really recruit the top kids in the state and do a good job at it. They've got a lot of top players committed from in the state of Alabama. So Tank Jones, if I had to predict today, Gary, and again, I don't have any special insight knowing what he's going to do. I just got a little hunch that Alabama's in a better position than maybe some other people think.
Yeah, and you think something could happen within a week or two?
Well, he told Ben Thomas at the Mobile Press Register yesterday that he probably within the next 2 weeks.
All right, we'll keep an eye out for that. Well, still to come on TITV, the Athletes Unlimited Softball League Championship concluded in Tuscaloosa at the Rhodes House over the weekend. We'll break it down because it was a former Alabama pitcher that led the way to a championship. And up next, your phone calls, emails, and tweets. Again, that phone phone number, 205-348-WVUA. That's 348-9882. We want to hear from you, Tider Insider Nation. Go ahead and give us a call. We'll be back with phone calls after this. The Athletes Unlimited Softball League Championship took place at Rhodes Stadium this past weekend right here in Tuscaloosa. The Talons took down the Bandits in both games to take the best 2 out of 3 inaugural championship series, and it was former Alabama standout Montana Fouts. Boy, she locked it down in game 2. A complete game shutout. She didn't need a lot of offense. She got a home run in the 6th, and that was all she needed as she got the win 1-0 in shutout fashion. We saw her do that so many times for Alabama. Bandits pitcher Lexi Kilfoyl also put together a strong effort on the mound. She started out at Alabama before transferring to Oklahoma State. She only allowed 1 run in her 4 innings pitched, but it's Fouts and the Talons that bring home the championship. Welcome back into TITV. Alongside Rodney Orr, I'm Gary Harris. And let's get to a phone call out there on our hotline. Dale from Moundville is going to lead us off. Hey, Dale. Good evening.
Hey, Gary and Rodney. I just would like to ask y'all, which position group do y'all think needs to improve the most based on last year's performance? And mine would be the Eggs players and the Wolf players. Since Dallas Turner and Will Anderson has left, it seems like there's tons of talent on the team, but there just seems to be no excuse for us to be so far down the rankings and sacks and stuff, because there's talent all over it,
Well, and I think, too, Dale, I agree with you. I think the pass rush is certainly something that's a concern. I think the Wolf linebacker spot does have a lot of talent. I mean, they're stacked up with a lot of highly recruited players. And I think Quay Russaw is really going to take a big step this year. I expect that. He was kind of beat up at times last year. And look, you talk about pass rush, too. Don't forget, LT Overton, I think, if he can finish some of those sacks this year, he could put up some big numbers. You talked about maybe areas that needed help. We thought inside linebacker was going to be one of those spots. But Justin Jefferson's back. Obviously, Deontay Lawson's back. Hopefully, he's fully healthy. And tight end's another position where during the spring, I mean, they just didn't have anybody. They didn't have anybody. So I think that's a position to really watch. We already ran those guys down. I mean, Josh Cuevas, Danny Lewis, some of the young freshmen, some of the other guys that they had that came in the portal. So those are some spots. But overall, I feel really confident, Gary, for the most part, about when you start breaking down positions, they seem to have a lot of quality depth.
All right, thank you, Dale. Good phone call. Let's get to our email question of the day. And our email question of the day is brought to you by KDM Service Corporation. When it comes to heating and air conditioning, KDM Service Corporation serves your family like our family. All right, here's the question. Will Ryan Grubb be on the sideline or in the press box this season? It's from Marty Tuscaloosa. It's a great question. I think that's come up before on the show, and I don't remember if Coach DeBoer addressed it in the spring or not. I'm guessing the press box. I think that's where he was at Washington. That's where Nick Sheridan was last year, but I don't know for sure, Rodney. Do you?
Look, I don't know for sure, but I will say this. He was in the press box at Washington. I would expect that he'll be in the press box with Sheridan down on the field, working with the quarterbacks. What a setup, though.
Yeah,
I mean, to have Sheridan on the sideline. Now, you could reverse that, but in either way, I think it would be effective. But I do think Grubb obviously was in the press box at Washington.
All right, thanks for the phone calls and emails. We got another segment of phone calls to come, and also on Tider Insider Television, former Alabama basketball star that earned a contract with one team, got released, and now he's earned another NBA contract. We'll tell you all about it. And as I said, more of your phone calls, emails, and tweets. There you see the information on your screen, 205-348-9882. We got time to get some more calls in. Go ahead and give us a call. Phone lines are open. This edition of TITV Fall Camp Edition will return right after this. Remember, JD Davison only played 1 year at Alabama, and he was really good. He went on to the NBA, and it's been a tough go. Two-way contracts. Finally, he got a deal with the Celtics, and you think he's about to really start his NBA career in earnest, and he got released. But he has signed with the Rockets. I'm telling you something, JD Davison can score, Rodney. I hope he gets a good look with the Houston Rockets, because he is a dynamic player, one of the best G League players that we've ever seen. So good luck to JD with the Houston Rockets. Welcome back into TITV, and phone lines are open, 205-348-9882. In the meantime, let's get to an email question. We've got an email question that we can take. And it's from Sherry in Hamilton. Should Alabama use Ryan Williams in the Wildcat formation as a quarterback? Sherry, he is a dynamic athlete. I doubt very seriously that that's something they've got planned at Alabama. But listen, if you're in a jam and you need a guy to make a play, who knows? But I think they like Ryan Williams right where they have him.
You know, and again, certainly wasn't her question, but if you're going to put a guy back there, how about Jalen Mbakwe?
Yeah, he did in high school.
He was something.
He was too. All right, let's get to one more email question before we have to take a timeout. And it's from Tim in Tuscaloosa. Did Nate Oates offer Gage Mayfield a scholarship? I don't know. That's the outstanding basketball player out of Hale County, same high school as Herb Jones, former Alabama star, now in the NBA. He narrowed it down to 5 schools. Alabama is not among them. I know Alabama had interest, Rodney. Whether or not they actually offered Gage a scholarship, I don't know. I really think he's a great player, and he's a local kid, but he has not. He does not have Alabama in his Final 5.
Yeah, I saw that today. I saw the release of the top 5, and I know that there were a lot of people on TiderInsider.com asking the same question.
All right, thanks for the phone calls and the emails. And we're going to come back and wrap up this edition of Tider Insider TV on a beautiful but steamy night in the City of Champions. We're back to T-Town. You stay with us. And Nate Oates and the Crimson Tide have another exhibition game set up. They're going to take on Furman in their renovated Timmons Arena on October the 26th. Tickets will be sold for the event. And this marks the second exhibition game for Alabama, as they had already had one scheduled against Florida State at Batwell Auditorium in Birmingham on October the 16th. So a couple of exhibition games right in. This schedule that Alabama has is daunting.
Yeah.
But hey, when you're one of the big boys, you play a big boy schedule. And Alabama, after back-to-back Elite Eights and one Final Four, that's what they're going to do. All right, that's going to do it for this edition of Tider Insider TV, presented by Visit Tuscaloosa. Don't forget, if you missed any of tonight's show, you can get to replay at 10:30 following the news at 10, or online anytime at WVUA23.com. We're going to leave you with former Alabama softball standout Kelly Kretschmann. She is going into the National Softball Hall of Fame in October as part of the 2025 class. She's now doing some coaching, and she was a great player here. Went to the first World Series that Alabama ever made it to back in 2000. For Rodney Orr, I'm Gary Harris. Thanks for watching, everybody. Have a great night.